Hey guys, it's me again. Um, After a hiatus, um, I know I'm not even gonna try to apologize for the delay. Okay, just things happen, things change. Um, you don't plan for it, but I still want to make a lot of videos, and this is another effort where I will try to post every day for 30 days or however long this project lasts. But instead of holding myself, trying to do like cinematic things every video, which I still want to do, mind you, still want to do that. I kind of just want to start creating and get in the habit of it and just be consistent. I think that it's important to hold myself accountable and create. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about having fun. And I think I'm having fun with this. But yeah, I want to do this video journal thing because I think that it's important to, have a creative outlet to all this emotion that gets pent up, when you're isolating yourself or when you're on the journey to improve yourself. I think it's important for me to let it out in more ways than one. Like I journal, I draw, I paint, I do all that stuff, but I think it's important for me to also just sometimes you just gotta yap. So that's what this is. That being said, I think I'll do one on a different topic or whatever's on my mind. Today, this is on my mind, and a couple other things that I'll get to. But hopefully, y'all can bear with me. But today's topic, or I guess today, what I want to talk about is suffering. I think that suffering is, well, that feels like too blunt of a segue, so I'll just continue. But I think that suffering is important for a person to rebuild themselves. I think that oftentimes we look at suffering as something that's negative, which, when you're going through it, definitely. And there's different ways. There's physical, emotional, mental. Like there's a vast, sea of suffering or types of suffering. That doesn't sound that analogy doesn't make sense, but bear with me. I think that suffering of any kind is important for you to look inwards. In a lot of at least for Abrahamic religions, they say that suffering is a test. Like most times through stories and through, events that we hear about, it's, God put this person through this thing because it was a test. This suffering was to teach them a lesson. And while I am a little wishy-washy on the topic, because I do believe that, not to get religious here, but I think that, God is all loving, and whatever you may believe in, whether that's the universe or whatever, but the higher power, I think, is all loving and all seeing. So I think the suffering, you know what, let me backtrack a little bit. I think that suffering is important for you to rebuild yourself. I think you must go through it at whatever level for you to look inwards and be like, okay, how do I get better? How do I improve? And I know that's a really, really gross generalization of people's trauma and their feelings. I get it, but I'm speaking very personally. When I go through it, or I guess I put myself through it to improve. And, while that's a really messed up way of dealing with things and living life as is, I think that it's important for me to go through it to improve. Like, as sadistic as that sounds, it's like, if everything is good all the time, then you can't improve. Like, well, you could improve, I guess, but I'm just different. I think for me, it's like, things must be bad for you to, isolate yourself, lock in, all those buzzwords that are going around nowadays. You just gotta to focus on yourself. You must suffer. So inherently, my point is, with all this word cloud that I'm building, is that suffering is not bad. It's good. You must suffer. Think about it. You go to the gym, right? What are you doing at the gym? If you're built, or if you're trying to bulk up or look buff, you must suffer. Like you must, like when you're when you're in the thick of it, lifting heavy weights, like you're freaking like going through it. That's your suffering. That's physical suffering. Because really, you're pushing yourself to be in the depths of physical pain just so you can tear your muscles and improve. Same thing with emotions. Like, okay, I'm not saying that you should do this, but when your life gets messed up, aren't you like trying to rationalize your situation? Aren't you trying to like cope with it? Isn't that making you tougher? Like, personally, if I hadn't gone through the things I had gone through, I wouldn't feel as well as I do when things get bad. That's another thing that I notice, and not to vary off on a tangent here, but I think a lot of people, at least in the people that I have met in non-immigrant spaces or that come from non-immigrant backgrounds, they struggle to deal with stress. And I'm always so astonished to see that like things could go left, and the first thing they'll do is start panicking. Like they'll lose all rational thought, all rational, like they're you know, what's the word that I'm thinking of? They all of a sudden they can't think straight. They make bad decisions. They're spiraling, and it's like, dude, you're stressing about something that hasn't happened. You know, it's only gonna get worse. But as an immigrant, when you've dealt with experiences in a third world country, may, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make other people go through it, because not all of them are positive. But like when you've dealt with tough things, it only gets easier because you've dealt with it already. The pain has toughened you up, just like a gym, except emotionally and mentally. So literally, I think that suffering gets a bad rep, but and I'm really generalizing with the word here, but I think that suffering is important for a person, a man or a woman, to rebuild themselves. So lock in. Like if you're locked in, as a guy, first of all, let me talk to my guys here for a second, because this is a big thing in the male internet space that I'll look up lane. It's a big thing in this male space that I see all the time. They're talking about, you gotta lock in. If I gotta lock in, I gotta cut off all my friends. I gotta do this. I gotta start wearing all black. I gotta start listening to rock music. I can't text my friends back. I gotta leave all these group chats. I gotta delete social media. I get it. But you can't be doing that just to do that. You must look inwards and lock in. Like, you can't just be doing this for the aesthetic of it. You need to like yeah, you're locked in, but are you speaking to yourself? Are you talking to yourself? Are you asking yourself, okay, what are things that I must improve? Where do I want to be in 6 months? Do you have a clear goal of where you want to get to? Because if you're doing this, then you're running in circles. It's that snake eating itself, because it's like, what's the point of doing all that if you're not toughening up? Like, it's like going to the gym just to look around and then leave, bro. Like, you're not putting the work in. I think that's where a lot of people shy away from the suffering, because they try to make it hard on themselves, but they don't commit all the way. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to look into yourself and be like, yo, what do I need to improve? What do I need to do better? And that's, I guess, I'm speaking to everybody here now. It's like, yo, it is okay to be alone and isolated. That's perfectly fine. But you must be willing to like work with yourself and talk to yourself. You can't just be doing it just to do it. Like it needs to be directed. It needs to have a purpose, because, you know, suffering without improvement is torture. Another plane. Yeah, that might be CIA, but we'll see. Oh, speaking of, let's city. It's like not really downtown, but you know, it still looks pretty. I like the view, so I moved over here. But yeah, sorry this ended up being 10 something minutes, but I'll see y'all tomorrow. I love you, and whatever it is, we'll get through it together. Peace.